Hey you, welcome back to the channel again. Sorry, I've already made tea today. I wanted to talk about something a little bit controversial today because some people don't like it, some people are really against it, and some people are all for it. And that's smartphone photography. Now, the cameras inside smartphones are obviously way less capable than something like a DSLR that I'm shooting on now, or like a mirrorless camera like a Sony A7 series, anything like that. Obviously, you're going to get way better quality images. I just wanted to talk about a couple of different things that, to me, make smartphone photography really interesting and make it kind of unique, because you can't get some of the shots that you can on a smartphone that you could do on a DSLR. Some things are just impossible. I haven't really set myself a schedule for uploading weekly, but I think it'd be nice to sort of get into that routine. Like, it's nice now I have one weekday off in the week from my normal job, and this is a good time for me to just sit down and talk to the camera about something. And I think by getting into this routine, it's going to help me to get out more and do more and be more proactive in actually, doing something. Because, for the last couple of weeks, I've been working on a big project as well, which is going to be really cool. But then that's all inside, that's all mixing, mastering, recording, everything. So I've been locked in my room doing that kind of stuff. And so I thought today would be cool to talk about smartphone photography so I could get outside and actually show you guys how to do stuff. But, So one of the reasons I actually wanted to talk about this topic is because I always carry two phones with me. I have one for personal stuff and one for work stuff, which is the typical reason or explanation I give as to why I carry two phones. But honestly speaking, it's more about being able to experience two different phones at the same time. Now, I've never been a huge fan of iOS. It's just personal preference. If you like it, you like it. So I've never carried an iPhone with me past like the iPhone 3GS back in the day. I've always carried two different Android phones. And at the moment, the main ones that I am carrying, the S9 Plus, as I mentioned earlier, and the OnePlus 6T. There are four main things I wanted to actually cover in this video. And that's device, form factor, lighting, and processing. Now these four things branch off into loads of different options, but the first main thing obviously is the device itself. So you can get different camera qualities with every single phone that you pick up. They're all built differently. There are some phones which are oriented towards having a good camera. There are some that aren't, some that don't really care. So it's important to know what device you're working with, but the quality of your photo shouldn't be decided by the device you have. So for example, the ones I've got here, I've got my S9 Plus, my OnePlus 6T, and I've got my wife's Google Pixel 2, just as an example. Hello, what you doing down here? Oh, hello. So as I was saying, I've got the S9 Plus, I've got my wife's Google Pixel 2 XL, and I've got my OnePlus 6T. These all take very different types of photos. My favourite in terms of the camera quality will always be the Pixel 2 XL, but these two don't have really any exceptionally bad qualities. It's not like, oh, this one's terrible because X or Y. Like I say, you should always know what camera you're working with, but don't rely on, oh, well, I'm going to start smartphone photography a bit more when I get a new phone. Just do it. Just take every picture you can. And that sort of brings me on to form factor a little bit. You don't really realise how versatile one of these things is. If you need to take a shot that's in a really weird angle or a weird space, you can see how thin this is. It's like, what, 6, maybe 7 millimeters? I don't know about the actual thickness of this. But they're super, super thin. They're super light. They're literally, you can hold them in any different way you want. You can literally hold it upside down like this to try and get a shot if you need to. You need to realise that this phone, or any phone of this kind of form factor, is capable of taking pictures like this, where I was actually just waiting outside at work for the doors to be opened, and we had the sun rising and this puddle just right in the middle of the car park. And because it was, before we hadn't opened yet, it was still quite empty. So I literally just ran over, held the phone sort of like this, so the puddle was just touching the bottom. Obviously this is waterproof, this one, so I could allow it to be just about in the puddle, and then took the picture. And it came out like that with a little bit of processing, a little bit of editing. That kind of thing can look amazing. But that's the kind of thing you can take with these things. They're really, really versatile. You need to be able to take advantage and take every single shot you can. Don't try and wait for the next opportunity, because this can do so much with every single opportunity you have. Now, the next thing is lighting. Obviously, with these cameras being the size that they are, they're absolutely minuscule. They're never going to be fantastic in low light in comparison to something like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. You kind of need to work with that. You need to make sure you've got significant lighting in the area you're in. Make sure to use any lighting you can to your advantage, even if it's just a matter of having one phone here taking the picture and holding the other one with the flashlight like this, or at a different angle to try and get the lighting better. It's something that you need to play with. That sort of brings me on to, again, the S9 Plus. This is the first... It was the only phone with a variable aperture camera, now it's the second. This one, from using it, it does make a difference. It's still not phenomenal in low light, like, you know, there's no phone that's amazing in low light, but it does definitely make a difference. That's something that you can play with as well if you look around for features on your phone. So a lot of phones have night mode now, where it will essentially take a longer exposure picture or multiple shots, stitch them together, find the best exposures for each area, and then intelligently paste them all together. That's something that's done on the Pixel 3 XL and Pixel 3 really well. I believe the firmware's on the Pixel 2 XL already. I haven't really used Gesture's camera that much, so I'll have to try it out, but I believe it's on there as well. Yeah, so with lighting, you do have to be a bit generous with your phone. You kind of have to put a little bit extra into it. You can even have little things like what I've got here. This is literally just a DIY thing. I don't own a softbox. I don't own any actual studio lights. But this is a lamp, and I've put a couple of carrier bags on it. I've literally folded a carrier bag, taped it on, and then had a second carrier bag over so that the light gets softened a little bit. Because if you just put one bag on really close to the light, it kind of just pierces straight through. So you want to have this softer effect where you don't cast as many shadows. So be experimental, be generous, be creative with that kind of stuff. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is processing. So I use a couple of different apps to edit my photos. Well, I've actually got 10 on this one. I don't know if you can actually see that. All different effects, all different types of things, you know, like kaleidoscope ones and random 8-bit generator sort of things. So I always recommend to people, unless your stock photo app is Google Photos, to not use your stock photo editor. So even Samsung's one is okay, but I wouldn't properly recommend. Even Samsung's one is okay, but I wouldn't properly recommend it, because the Google Photos editor, the little, you know, slider bars and everything, they're really good. They're actually really useful. The OnePlus, I use Google Photos on this, so that's the only one I know how to use. I haven't used their gallery. But then I'd also recommend using things like Lightroom, because when you use a professional grade software, even though it's watered down to work on a smartphone, you still get much better results. You have the option of using curves, you have the option of using extra filters and extra like dynamic processing that you don't normally get on a stock editor on a phone. I also use things like lens distortions. I think I saw this recommended on a video somewhere on YouTube once and then downloaded it, and I've used it all the time. It's a little bit buggy sometimes, but the actual app itself is really good. You can do so much with it. You can, just by adding one flare or one slight effect to the corner of a photograph, completely change the way that it looks and the way that it feels when you're looking at it. So those are the apps that I use, but I would always recommend doing a little bit more research and trying to find out what are the best apps for the phone you've got, for the camera you've got, and also in general what works for you best. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do any smartphone photography of your own, then feel free to let me know what your Instagram handles or Twitter handles or anything like that are. I'm not a pro photographer, I'm not a pro photo guy, but I do a lot of photography on my smartphone, so I've sort of had this experience of going through, starting out taking really shitty kind of photos on my phone, and then looking back at my DSLR and thinking, oh my god, why did I even bother taking my phone, and why did I leave that at home? But my DSLR isn't fantastic again, but it's just a matter of getting experience, getting used to it. Like I said, just take every single photo you can. But let me know what you did and didn't like about this video. Stay subscribed, stay tuned, because there's a lot coming in the coming months. But like I said before, I won't promise to make a video every week, but it would be nice because it just gives me something to do, gives me a bit of a routine. So thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, fucking hell.